The Unhappy Hour on the new AmericanMedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody and welcome to a very special episode of the Unhappy Hour. Guess what? I don't give a damn. I'm actually happy right now. Screw you, Ebola. You ain't taking me down. Ain't taking me down, man. Get out of here with your Ebola because you know what? Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kevin Love. It's basketball season. But wait, I'm not even getting ready to talk about that stuff because I know we're going to have plenty of great conversations with Zach Barris as we get into basketball season as we've done over the past couple of years. But I'm talking about beating the Steelers. Yes, I was very upset with my Browns when I was there live against the Ravens a couple of weeks ago, and they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. But we got it done, and we didn't just beat the Steelers. This wasn't a cardiac kids thing. We punched them in the teeth. So real quick, please check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. On the bottom right, middle right, it's our Facebook page. You can do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between, or just like it from there. And our Twitter feed is in the same spot of our homepage. And you can find us at American_media_. And please make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/The New American Media. I want to welcome special guest Rob Trautman from Sports on Tap. Rob, how you doing, sir? And how about them Browns?
Brian, good to hear from you. And yeah, the Cleveland Browns, it's amazing what a year makes with this team. I mean, especially with a new coach and a lot of new players. This team definitely has made a lot of changes for the good. And beating the Steelers was just one game that they had under their belt, and very impressive win, to say the least.
Yeah, all aspects of the game. I mean, this wasn't a back and forth. It wasn't a nail biter. I mean, this was just domination to the point where fourth quarter comes. You can tell both teams are just ready. Like, you want to call mercy? Because, come on, man. Yeah, give you that garbage touchdown there, but can we just get out of here? I think it was definitely determined 3 quarters in. This was a beating. You talk about the moves that the Browns have made. What would you say are some of the most impressive moves that the Browns have made from last year's team to this year's team? Why are we beating the Saints now? Why are we beating Tennessee in the largest comeback victory by an away team in NFL history? Why are we beating Pittsburgh decidedly? What has changed personnel-wise from last year to this?
You know, if you look at a lot of the players the Browns have, I mean, I'm not saying these players are retreads, but if you look at them, Miles Austin coming from Dallas, the Cowboys thought he was done for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
They get a player like him. How about Andrew Hawkins? The Bengals didn't want to match. The Bengals didn't want to match what the Browns could do, which was, I mean, it was a good amount of money. There's no doubt about that.
Wasn't Andrew Hawkins, Rob, wasn't he the one that was out of football and he got offered a job in the front office, like with the Lions or something? Am I thinking of the right guy?
Andrew Hawkins was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He was there for a few years. He's out of Toledo, actually. And, the Toledo Rockets, he was a pretty important player in college. He was a stud there, ended up getting, I think, as an undrafted free agent with the Bengals. And then the Bengals just decided not to sign to that big deal like the Browns did. I think that's one reason the Browns did do that was because they knew the Bengals would match him. And look at what a key player he's been. And, Carlos Dansby's another guy that I think stands out to me that was an impressive linebacker that they got. And, the list goes on and on. I mean, there's a lot of players that are veterans mixed with young players, and it seems to be working right now.
Yeah, Dante Whitner, right?
Dante Whitner's another one, yeah.
And it's the year is young, but unfortunately, we can't just revel in all of our. It felt just before I get to the injury with Alex Mack and Bryant and everything, because that is a unfortunate storyline moving forward. What did it mean personally to punch the Steelers this way? What did it mean to you, having just been humiliated for about a decade straight by Pittsburgh fans that have just been giving you how much countless grief, and you see more of those sissy yellow towels being waved around, and the home field advantage at the Browns Stadium really felt like it was a Pittsburgh home game for a while. So, I mean, what did it mean for the morale of the city and to you personally to go in there and not just beat the Steelers, but to trounce them.
Well, I think it means a lot. I mean, the whole city of Cleveland, I mean, it was talk of the town. And like you said, when you looked at Cleveland Brown Stadium, usually there's those crappy yellow towels that people, usually wipe their bums with on more than one occasion. But this time you didn't see those stupid yellow towels. You saw all orange and white and brown, and, that's what you like to see. And, the stadium is a lot different. I mean, anybody that has gone inside the stadium this year will tell you the attitude and the morale of the team is a lot different than it used to be.
And why is that? I've heard different reasons why the stadium is different. In what ways is the stadium a different place?
Well, I think one thing I noticed was, the Dog Pound used to have a huge, tall wall that used to block the fans from being somewhat close to the field. That was kind of taken out of there. And instead of, the tall wall, it's a lot shorter, closer to the field. There's different policies. I think the bigger scoreboards that they add there, the sound still isn't unbelievable by any means, but it's also not bad. And just the way I think the coaching staff and, Jimmy Haslam has tried to change things around in Cleveland, you could definitely tell it's a different attitude with the fans. And I think the fans are a big part of it, but you can hear them a lot more than in past years. I just think it's the overall closeness to the field. That makes a big difference. The Dog Pound used to be well known. I mean, it was loud, it was obnoxious, and, they moved them back from the field. The tall wall, I think, made such a big difference. You could barely hear them, and now it's a different story. And like you said, beating the Steelers, though, that kind of, coming back from Tennessee was unbelievable, but, I mean, it's a Tennessee team who's struggling, let's be honest.
Right.
And, coming back and beating a Steelers team now, that's a little bit different. And I mean, not just beating them, but dominating them through the whole game.
And I've heard people say, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, I'm still trying to track down, but one of the functions of those new scoreboards in Cleveland Stadium, it's not just to make it look snazzy, it's that almost some of the design elements were taken from Seattle with their 12th man, where their stadium is so loud, and something about the angle of the new scoreboards at Cleveland Browns Stadium, First Energy, is deflecting, reflecting, bouncing the sound back down onto the field, where it is twice as loud as it used to be. But my personal experience, have you heard anything about that?
I haven't personally heard anything about it. I have seen the scoreboards, and the scoreboards, I'm not gonna lie, they're huge.
Yeah, they look nice.
I haven't heard the audio, but I mean, it's totally different. I mean, from what they had. They only had one on one side. They actually have two scoreboards on both sides now. So, like you said, it might bounce down there now, and it's on both sides, so that might make an even bigger difference there.
Well, do me a favor if you can, as you have your general Browns conversations moving forward, toss it out there and say, hey, have you guys heard anything about this? Because I really haven't been able to lock this down. I can't remember if it was just someone's opinion or just a random idea, or if it's actually designed that way. But my experience there, man, during the Ravens game, I had the guy behind me say, "You're killing me, Engelman." Because I kept standing up in the fourth quarter trying to root everybody on, and this guy, "You're killing me, Engelman," with my personalized jersey, because I'll never trade me.
That's right, man.
"You're killing me." Like, that was my experience with the crowd. But anyway, it felt fantastic. I was in Las Vegas, and I was with a group of people. There were a lot of Browns fans, and there were a couple of Steelers fans. And it just felt so good knowing that they had to keep their Steeler mouths closed, and we got to clap and cheer and yell and fist bump. It meant a lot to me. I get the feeling this team is different. So we're sitting here at 3-2. If the playoffs were to start today, right on the edge, right on the cusp, looking at the Baltimore team that we should have beat. Talk about Jacksonville real quick. I know we don't have you for very long today, but I do want to get what are your thoughts on what the Browns need to look for, what they need to do with the Jacksonville game, and what are they doing on the offensive line now that Alex Mack is hurt?
Well, with Alex Mack hurt, John Greco stepped in, and he's a veteran that's kind of been he has played it before. It's been a while, but obviously last week it was terrible to see Alex Mack go down because they just signed him to a pretty nice sized deal, and he did not miss a game in his whole entire career. And to go down with a broken leg, he's going to have to rehab that and be out the year. But Greco stepped in very nicely, and, it was almost seamless. The Browns didn't miss a beat getting him out there, and I believe that he probably will be the starter the rest of the year unless something else happens. And I believe Paul McQuiston, who the Browns acquired from Seattle, also has some experience at the center position, so they could also move him in there. And that's the nice part about this Browns team is the flexibility they have with all these players. They actually do have some depth at that offensive line position.
I'm looking here at an article by Pat McManaman. It's saying John Greco will start at center, and Paul McQuiston will start at guard when the Browns play the Jags. Greco slides from guard to center to step in for Alex Mack, and then Winston Painter might get some time at right guard as well. So apparently that's what we got going on there.
Yeah, and they actually have some depth there, and that's the nice part about this Browns team is there's depth at every position, and some are deeper than others, obviously, but that's a nice thing, and they're playing so well together. Carlos Dansby, after the Steelers games, he made it feel like a little bit of a rivalry, just saying, God, it felt so good to beat the Steelers, and we wanted to win one for the dog pound, and Miles Austin saying the dog pound is unbelievable, and he's never seen anything like it, and it's just great to hear that from the players, and you could tell that they're going out there and they're giving it their all.
And those are vets. Those are guys that have been in the league for quite some time.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I think is the cool thing about that. And then you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Once again, they're struggling. Blake Bortles thrown into the mix already, and I'm not sure they wanted to do that so far, but they have some young wide receivers. Their defense, it's usually pretty tough, but they're really struggling this year. I think they're 0-5 right now, and looking at the schedule for the Browns, that's the thing. These are must wins. They have 2 0-5 teams back to back, and then they have a 1-5. I'm trying to think of the team who they play after that, but they have a 1-5 team. So you look at this Browns team. There's 3 winnable games, which each one's going to be tough, but like you said, you got to take advantage of these losing teams, and then you face the Cincinnati Bengals. So 3 losing teams combining a 1-15 record. It's going to be an interesting few games here.
Yeah, they keep saying, hopefully this isn't going to be a trap game as they head into Jacksonville, and then they got Oakland, Tampa Bay, then Cincinnati for the first time. To round it out, Houston, and then what is it? Week 12, we get Atlanta, and then we get Josh Gordon back. Am I thinking correctly? That's the Atlanta game.
Yeah.
Talk
that
about what
will be interesting too.
Talk about what Brian Hoyer's done, and it's probably. This was Brian Hoyer's shot. This really was, and getting Johnny Manziel drafted, obviously it wasn't an ideal circumstance for him, but guess what? Maybe it was an ideal circumstance because he's got to come in with his A game every single day, and in turn, he's actually showing Johnny Manziel what a true professional needs to do to be successful, and how he's working with with Shanahan. So what are the Browns supposed to do if you were in charge as a GM? Do you pay the man? Do you let him play out the year? Do you give him a moderate deal? Do you let him hit the free market? What do we do with Brian Hoyer? Because this guy, he might not be lighting it up, but he's very efficient with what he does, and he makes almost 0 mistakes.
Yeah, this is a tough one because we talked about this on our Sports on Tap show. And I thought Josh Jeffy, who is on our show, brought up a good point.
Give me your plug. Give me your plug before you get me to Josh Jeffy's thing. Tell us where we can find your show. Give us Josh's Twitter feed, your Twitter feed, all that jazz.
Yeah, it's at SOT Podcast, and mine's at rtrauty, Trauty. And Sports on Tap is just our podcast that we do. We're from Cleveland, so we talk about Cleveland sports. We cover the local landscape too, which is a lot of high school sports, pretty much any sport. And some national topics, and I can't remember Josh's Twitter feed. I think it's at BrewDevil1981 or something like that.
But we can find it on your site.
SOT Podcast, you'll see where he's at.
Right.
But yeah, he brought up a good point with Brian Hoyer though, and it was, do you franchise tag Brian Hoyer? Yeah, he would make $18 million a year, but this way you're not in a long-term deal with him, and you can kind of see what he can do for the second year in a row. I mean, if he does this 2 years in a row, then I think you have to almost invest in maybe another 2 to 3 year deal. But, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. I would wait the season out. It's still early. Yes, he's playing unbelievable. He's a really good quarterback, and he's a veteran, so he knows what he's doing. And the way he prepares, and he's quick with the ball, makes good decisions. Yes, he's underthrown some receivers, but, you know, for the most part, I mean, just having a great season so far and leading the team to win. So he's doing a great job, and you got to respect that. And Johnny Manziel, there's nothing wrong with having him on the bench waiting in the wings, you know, in case something happens. I mean, you feel pretty good about having him, even though he's never he's taken a snap in the NFL regular season game, but it's only been once or twice. So you just feel good about his athletic ability and being out there and ready to go.
Yeah, Steve Young had to sit for quite some time, and then sometimes you throw Peyton Manning in and it works. Sometimes you throw Tim Couch in and it doesn't work at all. You know, I don't know that there really is a formula other than having a great offensive line. And I had this chat with somebody, said that the team just feels different. You know, this seems like a professional team this year with the Cleveland Browns, and we were trying to figure out what is different. And I just think it's that offensive line. I think everything changes with that strong offensive line. It's given time for Hoyer to connect with all these no-name receivers, and Jordan Cameron, an amazing tight end. And we'll see what happens when Josh Gordon, last year's number one receiver, comes back when he does. But, I would just be a fool to let you get out of here without asking about what you think about our running backs right now, because that really seems to be the strength of the team, along with the very consistent, solid to good play out of Brian Hoyer. I mean, the running game is what's doing it for us across the board, all three of them.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at who they have, I mean, Ben Tate, he's definitely the main guy, and he's proven, you know, every time he's in there, I mean, he's just making big-time plays. I mean, whether it's he fouls his blocking very well, he's a strong runner, and he's basically doing what he did in Houston. And he could have a really good year, but I think it helps to have two other guys, especially young guys. I mean, Crowell, an undrafted free agent out of Alabama State, really running very well. And he hits the hole hard, pretty fast, strong, low-to-the-ground runner, and he's going to be a really good running back.
He's dropping that ball, though. He's dropped a couple of those pitches.
Yeah,
and
that's the whole problem with him, is the few fumbles he's had, and like you say, the pitches he dropped. He's got to work on that, and that's workable. He's doing a lot of things right, but obviously some room for improvement there. And Terrence West actually had to take a back seat last week because the coaches didn't like his attitude, which I respect fully. I mean, I like to see coaches saying, you know what, take a back seat. Let's let you look and watch and see if you learn anything from your mistakes. And, they're not just letting these guys go out there and just play. They have to learn from their mistakes. If you have a bad attitude, you're not going to be out there. Terrence West, though, he's a hard runner as well. Him and Crowell could be a really nice 1-2 punch. And like I said, it doesn't hurt to have Ben Tate. So all three running backs, very impressive. Probably one of the best offensive lines in the league now. And I think you're seeing it. I mean, the offense, and my MVP right now is Kyle Shanahan, how he works with all these players and putting them in the right spots to make plays. That's really impressive to me, and pretty excited to see this Browns team, big win, and let's see what they can do against Jacksonville this week.
Absolutely. Let me agree with you real quick there on that point. I think when you're a coach and you're establishing yourself in the league and, you have no pedigree, you have no track record, you're a brand new first-year head coach, and you take your third-round draft pick and you say, listen, pal, I've told you, I'm sure this wasn't the first time they'd been over this, you're not selling the play fakes. When you let up and make it look like you're not running, it kills our quarterback because then the defensive backs see it and they change their coverage, and it makes a big difference. You know what? You're sitting down. And you know what? I think that's going to make Terrence West a much better player, provided he's not a complete nut job or head case, and I don't know the man personally. I'll just say that type of coaching for me has always worked. It's like you learn a tough lesson, and then you come back and you say, yes, sir, I see what you're saying. I am going to change that, and I'm going to be a better player. And I could see him jumping ahead of Crowell because I haven't seen Terrence West dropping the ball like Crowell has done. And I'm sure that Crow isn't going to get put in a cage himself. But I think Terrence West I don't think that's any big deal that they held him out. In fact, it might make him a hell of a much better player down the road. And that's what you're hearing about Coach Pettin, is that he's the type of coach we should have hired when we became a new franchise. He has that thing, that it. So you said Shanny, and we were talking about Pettin. Who's the most important acquisition in the coaching staff that we had? Would you give it more to Pettin or to Shanny?
You know what? That's tough because I really like Mike Pettin a lot. I like the way he's handled himself, and I guess you have to give it to Mike Pettin because he brought in assistants and who he thought would do the job. And I think, he's doing just a great job as a head coach. I just can't believe, we were talking about wide receivers struggling and this team just not having the weapons to put up a lot of points and saying how great the defense is going to be. And here, the offense is putting up 20-plus points a game. And granted, though, the defense, give credit to Jim O'Neill, he came through and said they dubbed down the defense so that these guys understood the terms and didn't have to think about, okay, I have to be here in this situation or that situation. Carlos Dansby said they dubbed it down so they understood the terms and they could just go out and play and understand it.
Right.
And it really worked against Pittsburgh. And, all these coaches really have done a good job. I think Shanahan and Pettin are so close. Those were so huge. I never thought Kyle Shanahan would do the job he's doing right now. I'll tell you that. But
a lot of people said Shanahan's problem. A lot of people said Shanahan's problem is that his play calls would have about 34 syllables in them, so you couldn't even read them off to the team before you had time to line up and execute them. And it was just a little overly confusing. And the question has been, is he dumbing that down a little bit on his side? Have you heard? Is he actually doing that as well?
I haven't heard that, but I heard about the defense. So. I think the offense has a lot of smart guys. I mean, you have some veterans there that just understand how to play the game and study the playbook. And I think, Shanahan probably has dubbed it down for certain players. But like I said, he makes it work with each and every player and takes them individually and works with them and makes it work. And it's shown on the field.
Well, then, I'll tell you what, thank you very much for joining us today. I know you had a limited time, and you probably extended it a few more minutes for us. We, of course, appreciate that. Before I let you go, though, let's get a prediction. Browns versus Jaguars this week. What's going to be the final score, Rob Trautman?
The Browns 25, the Jags 13.
Okay. I like 38 to 17. I want to see 5 touchdowns, a field goal, and or a heck of a lot of safeties. A ton of safeties. Okay, hey, Rob, real quick, one more time, tell everybody where your show's at, where they can stay connected with you if they want to follow all of the awesome Cleveland sports that you cover.
All right, we're at SOT Podcast on Twitter, and we're also on Facebook. Just type in Sports on Tap, and you can follow our shows. We're on Podomatic, iTunes. Just type in Sports on Tap, and you'll get all of our podcasts.
Excellent, buddy. Well, hey, you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Browns, go Buckeyes, go Cavs, and we'll be talking again soon. All right, stay safe.
You as well, sir. Take care. Have a good weekend.
All right, peace. There goes Rob Trautman, everybody. Make sure you check out Sports on Tap. And like I said, if you haven't checked out our homepage, it's thenewamericanmedia.com. In the middle right, you have our Facebook feed. You can do a search for The New American Media with space in between and like the page. In the middle right of our homepage is also our Twitter feed. We're at American_media_. Please follow us and subscribe, youtube.com/The New American Media. Thank you very much. 38-17. Go Browns. Go Cavs. Go Buckeyes. Peace.
You are listening to The New American Media.